When we talk about Titania, we talk about her razor wing ability. Well, who doesn't love flying around and killing enemies with your dual pistols? Turning into a little death machine is really fun, but the fun stops when you are facing high-level enemies, as surely they pose a big threat to Titania, knowing how insane the damage they can deal to our little pixie queen. That's the problem I have for Titania in the past, but gladly, Digital Extremes has resolved this by adding the feature that was supposed to be added way back when Titania was first released. I'm talking about the ability of both Agility Drift and Aviator mod, to give Titania damage reduction while she is using her Razor Wing ability. With the help of these mods, plus some more survivability mods, you can turn your little pixie queen into a bullet sponge. Building TANKTANIA is pretty simple. Just put in the Aviator, Agility Drift, and Adaptation mod on your mod setup, and you now have the ability to take heavy hits as a tiny pixie queen. Now, the damage reduction coming from these three mods does affect not only your health, but also your shields. So, it's good to have some shield mods on your build, like the Primed Vigor. If you don't have Primed Vigor yet, then go for the regular Vigor, or the Redirection mod. Relying on your shield is pretty good, especially if you don't have the platinum to buy Arcane Grace, as you can just put Arcane Aegis on your setup. That is way more cheaper than this Arcane. But, take note, Arcanes are not needed for this tank setup for Titania. They just make your build better overall, but it doesn't mean that they are essential. Moving on, since Titania's Razor Wing drains a lot of energy, I did add Primed Continuity, Primed Flow, and Fleeting Expertise on the mix, to lessen the energy drain of her fourth ability. Don't worry about putting Fleeting Expertise on the mod setup, as you can still cast your other abilities, like for example, 23 seconds duration for your lantern is pretty sufficient to crowd control enemies. By the way, this build's purpose is not only to tank, but I also take to consideration the ability to be efficient in casting Titania's other abilities, and as well as have enough power strength to kill enemies. The damage mitigation coming from these mods, the evasion coming from Agility Drift and her passive ability, plus the crowd control from her lantern ability, are pretty sufficient for me when it comes to survivability, while the 175% power strength, coming from both growing power and energy conversion, are pretty sufficient to kill high-level units. All I need to do is mod my Dex Pixia well. For the dual pistol, I usually go with a mix of critical and damage, with 290% elemental mods. The fire rate of Dex Pixia does allow both critical stats and elemental stats to perform well for her dual pistols. In fact, out of all the builds I've tried for her Dex Pixia, this setup does performs well for my playstyle. Now what about her melee weapon? Well, what about it? Sorry, but I really don't like her melee weapon at all. It may be personal preference, but here's some reasons why I don't like it. First of all, even if you put a lot of power strength mods on your build, and then go for a crit, damage, and elemental damage setup, plus the Razor Wing Blitz augment for your fourth ability, still, her melee weapon sucks at endgame levels. It's not efficient in terms of killing high-level enemies, especially those armored units. Also, it's hard to make an endgame build for this weapon, for as you can see, its critical stats and status chance are pretty low. Its IPS distribution is more towards puncture, and it's quite high, but that doesn't make any difference, because of the low status chance. The critical stats are also pretty weak, especially the critical chance. Adding both sacrificial mods would only yield 42% critical chance. If only we could equip Blood Rush on this exalted weapon, then that would change, but right now, we can't do that. And lastly, I really don't like its animation, as it gives me motion sickness. I really prefer gunning down enemies with her dual pistols than using her melee weapon. Clearly, this exalted weapon needs a buff or maybe a rework to be good and usable. If you also think that it needs some rework, then please do share this video to your friends and to the Warframe community so we could have some dumb fun with Titania's big sword. Before I end this video, let's go back to the tank setup first. For those players that actually likes to have more damage on their Dex Pixia, then you can actually tweak this build. Just add both Umbral Vitality and Umbral Intensify on your mod setup. This mod setup will give you 230% power strength, which makes your Dex Pixia pretty strong, and in fact, it can melt even these level 130 heavily armored units with ease. Just a tip though, you won't have high shield values compared to the first mod setup with Primed Vigor, so obviously, you will be relying mostly on your health, your ability to dodge, and crowd control enemies. In terms of crowd control, you should take to consideration casting your abilities in a safe spot, as the animation to cast your abilities are pretty slow for a ninja pixie. In fact, I'm hoping that Digital Extremes will also consider reworking the casting speed of Titania. I hope we can see a better version of Titania in the future, but for now, her DPS, and the ability to be a bullet sponge, are good enough so I could have fun playing Titania on the star chart, or even at endgame levels. So that's it. I hope that you find this video informative. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you did enjoy watching this video. Thank you so much for watching. Squad Leader signing off.